Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome to Plank of the Week. It's Mike Graham here. It's Friday night, and of course, it's the place to be because this is where we do all the judging. And I'll tell you what, I think we're going to have a 4-hour show tonight because we've got so much to do. And that just starts with the Labour Party conference.
Hey!
Jeremy Kyle is here, Chloe Dobbs is here, Mark Dolan has returned for the first time since before lockdown.
Yes, indeed.
And Rafe Heydel-Mankoo joins us as well. Thank you very much indeed for all of you. We've got to start with the Labour Party conference, haven't we?
I start with Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
A man so switched on, so with his hand on the pulse of the United Kingdom, that he thought it would be a good idea to stand up and basically say, forgetting what he said about Nigel Farage, he's got a thick skin. Anybody who even contemplates supporting reform or has any, due loyalty to anything they're talking about, like immigration, like lower taxation, like a military that actually defend Great Britain, like a police force that will arrest people, is in fact a racist. So we went on air yesterday and people were incandescent, Mikey. I mean, like, I've never heard people like it like that.
I know.
Swiftly followed by the biggest idiot in the entire government when he's not stuffing food down his face. Yeah. David Lammy jumped up.
Sorry, Mastermind. David Mastermind Lammy, the man who can't answer a question correctly in any way, shape or form. But let's start running through it, shall we?
Well, can I just tell you what he said?
Yeah,
so he then thought it would be a good idea to say, and Nigel Farage, he used to flirt, whatever that means, with the Hitler Youth movement. 22 minutes later, that dick, excuse my French, he had to retract that. I mean, an absolute debacle. Yesterday, in my humble opinion, was the day that Nigel Farage is guaranteed to be the next Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
Astonishing.
Well, I wasn't sure where to start, but since you've said it, we might as well start with David Lammy. Here's what he said.
Is Nigel Farage a racist?
I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger.
I mean, talking about the Hitler Youth, which everybody pointed out, was around in the sort of early 30s.
Well, it was disbanded 25 years before Nigel was born.
Yeah, exactly, before he was born. So, I mean, you could see what he was trying to do, but he didn't even make a proper apology. He kind of said, oh, well, he's denied it now, so in that case, I'm going to obviously, make that correction.
He also said in that half-hearted apology, well, I did say it's up to the public to decide. No. He said, I'll leave it up to the public to decide if he's racist, given that he flirted with the Hitler Youth. He said it as if it was a fact.
Yeah,
but he couldn't apologise.
What other sort of historic events Nigel Farage was part of before he was born? Did he take the wrong side in the French Revolution?
Did he? Was he part of the Mongol hordes that came sweeping across Western Europe? Because they were quite racist.
Sorry, the
what? The Mongol hordes.
They're coming now, aren't they? That's half the problem.
They're coming from Afghanistan.
But
anyway.
I will say this. It's so bizarre that even the kickback on Starmer saying racist, the next day he went, I'm not talking about the people, I'm just talking about the policies.
Yeah.
Nigel Farage is a formidable man. You've just alienated a third of this country.
Well, they're already starting to say, less than 24 hours later, oh, we think we made a bit of a blunder.
Well, yeah, you know what, Mike? Be careful what you wish for, because what happened with Keir Starmer at conference is by accident, for 1 nanosecond, he actually said what he thought.
Yeah.
And he actually
thinks given the game away.
that mass immigration is moral, that it's the right thing to do, and any attempts to curb it to sensible levels are racist.
Exactly right.
So, basically the mask slipped.
It did. And here it is. Let's have it from Keir Starmer's own lips.
When was the last time that you heard Nigel Farage say anything positive about Britain's future? He can't. He doesn't like Britain.
The audacity of this man to say that. The Labour Party is filled with people who actively loathe this country. Yeah. His best friend is the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, who's actively advised every single enemy of Britain, from Gerry Adams to Shamima Begum, and advising those countries that want to get reparations from us.
Yes.
You've got, David Lammy, when he was Foreign Secretary, I wanted to remind him, actually, the job of Foreign Secretary is to advance Britain's interests, not foreign interests.
I mean, they have got a tax break for the people of Mauritius. I mean, let's face it, they've done well by giving them the...
You're so right. Yesterday, in the midst of all of this madness, and I know you were listening to the show, it was just extraordinary. I was more appalled at the beginning that he had the audacity, as you said, to call Nigel Farage un-British, not liking the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
That was almost more shocking than
it was.
racist.
Well, yeah, I mean, what Farage is doing, love or hate him, is he's trying to fight for the Britain that once existed and which is fast diminishing. Now, we can have a conversation about whether we want to get rid of the Britain that we know and love. That's fine. We can have that conversation, but not through labels.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when Labour campaigned to win the general election last year, they were saying how broken Britain is. They say the Tories, they've broken the NHS, politics is broken, we need to sort it out. Now that Nigel Farage is saying Britain is broken, apparently that means he's unpatriotic and he doesn't like our country.
And all you have to do is wave a flag at Labour Party conference, and apparently suddenly you're uniting England.
They looked very queasy about doing it.
I was lucky as well, because I didn't have to buy those flags, because Yvette Cooper brought them all down from her house. Her house is absolutely full of bunting. They've got it everywhere. They pull it down from the ceiling.
And when she really wants to be part of a really hard-hitting interview, she goes on GMB and her husband interviews her.
Exactly.
Well, the other thing, right, Starmer's speech, briefly, right, I think it's got parallels with Prince Andrew on Newsnight. And what I mean by that is when Prince Andrew did Newsnight, he was so detached from reality and so arrogant that when he came off air, he thought it went really well.
Well, I read The Guardian this morning, and they literally had a piece that said, is that not potentially one of the greatest speeches by a Labour Prime Minister?
That doesn't surprise me. Let's have a look at when he said the racist word.
I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
They're obsessed with calling things out as well, the Labour Party. They keep calling things out. They had Shabana Mahmood was asked the same question. Do you think Nigel Farage is racist? You know what she said? She said, I think it's worse than that. And you go, well, what's worse than being a racist? What, a paedophile? A murderer? You know, some kind of gangbanger? What?
Well, if it's a paedophile...
A gangbanger.
What's a gangbanger?
It's a gangster.
Oh, right.
But listen, it's not a problem.
It was a banger of gangs.
Yes.
But if it's good news
not that kind of gangbanger.
Sorry, we've been to some dodgy places, Mike.
If it's good news for paedophiles, don't worry. Keir Starmer will let them off. So that's OK.
Yes,
Here's the thing, right?
And he did for years, to be honest.
Hugh Edwards is walking free.
Jimmy Savile.
Right. Is it just me, right? I mean, Starmer is a unique specimen, right? This is a broken clock that isn't even right twice a day.
That's true.
I mean, he literally has a reverse Midas touch. When was the last time he said something smart that resonated and that aged well?
Broken clock.
Yeah, because, you know, broken clocks... I know. Yeah. Because here's some breaking news just before we started filming this, right? You know, he was all over it on Friday. He didn't mention it in his actual speech in conference, but do you remember the digital ID idea?
Oh,
yes.
You
know, we're going to be rolling it out. Everybody's going to be making sure that they have the right to work here. You know, when he said that, just before that, 35% of people in Britain thought, actually, digital ID is quite a good idea. Since he said it on Friday... Do you know how many people now think it's a good idea?
11.
Minus 14%. He's literally got the reverse Midas touch. So now everything he touches turns to the opposite of gold.
I do think this... We were talking about this the other day on air. I do think a large part of this is, and I'm not saying that our politicians are in any way a good fit, I just don't think he has a political bone in his body. I don't think he's got antennae. I don't think he's got DNA. I don't think he smells it. I don't think he can sense... Anybody can sense what's going on in this country. He can't sense what's going on in his house.
He doesn't know. And let's have a look at Nigel Farage, what he had to say.
Oh, yeah.
We will teach Starmer a lesson next May that British political history will never forget. I am now, as a result of this week and the abuse that has been heaped upon our supporters and our voters, more determined than ever.
Dan Hodges, you know, the man who's been charting ever since I sort of groomed him into being a reality star. It's not the wrong word, because I did groom him, because he started off being a great big supporter of Keir Starmer, and over the course of months, I made him into somebody who could see him for what he is.
You woke him up?
I woke him up. And so now, he's written a piece this week, just after that conference speech, and he said the wheels will start to come off as soon as Lucy Powell becomes deputy leader, right? Then Morgan McSweeney will have to go because the budget will be so awful that everybody will say, you know, we have to start again. If Starmer manages to make it through Christmas, come May, Nigel Farage will give him a total spanking, and that'll be the end of him. He'll be gone.
I also thought, I'm sure you'll all agree, because we were on air when it happened, I looked at Farage, and I'd spoken to Reform in the morning, as you know, about something else, and I knew they were preparing the studio just in case it became personal. I just thought, geez, he stood in a studio in London with two flags, no lecterns, it looks like he's in number 10. That's a Prime Minister in waiting. The way he spoke compared to what Starmer did.
Really measured. And by the way, be careful what you wish for, because Morgan McSweeney, I know there's a big question mark, obviously, over that sort of $750,000 for Starmer's campaign for the leadership of the Labour Party. But this is the only figure, right, McSweeney, within the government machine that isn't a radical leftist.
Yeah.
Right? This is a guy that actually...
He's a Blairite, isn't he?
He is a Blairite, and he's on the right of the party. And what he did is he put that line in about Island of Strangers, which I thought was a bit of poetry and in some ways very resonant, for which Starmer then apologised and said, oh, my God, I didn't see that.
Hadn't read it. No, didn't mean to say it. Now, there's one woman who we haven't heard from for a long time on this show, So I'm going to surprise you.
Chloe Dobbs?
It's not Chloe Dobbs,
right.
no. Chloe's being very quiet, but that's good. We're not talking over each other, which is very good. Carol Vorderman, remember her? She campaigned for Labour to get in. She campaigned for Keir Starmer to be the new Prime Minister.
Don't start.
And, you know, she hasn't said anything for ages, but she made an appearance at the conference as well.
Keir Starmer, this is my prediction, Keir Starmer will never be voted in as Prime Minister again.
So
you know it's bad if even Carol Vorderman doesn't want him.
Feel free to say anything you like, but possibly not at this time.
No.
I'll tell you the other thing we have to mention before we move on from Starmer in the Labour Party.
Have I won it? Because there's no way he can't.
Is, of course, Donkeygate. Right?
Oh,
because you've got to mention the donkeys. The donkeys is the most ridiculous story that anybody's ever heard, right? This is a bloke who, when he was a lawyer, he had enough money. £20,000 in 1996 was more than the average annual income, right?
Yeah.
Which was 15. And he said it was hardly any money at all. It's £20,000. So I bought a field behind my parents' house. Father, of course, being a toolmaker. They lived in Surrey, but it's a 7-acre field. And he says he wants us to believe that he bought this field for them to put 4 donkeys in so that they could go and stroke the donkeys whenever they wanted. He actually expects us to believe that.
He bought a field
He
at
bought
the back
a field
of his parents' house. He's gone from being a toolmaker to living in Surrey. And he bought a 7-acre field.
7-acre field for £20,000 he bought it for, right? And then the parents died, I think, in 2018. He sold the field.
Are the donkeys alive?
Well, nobody knows what happened to the donkeys. He sold the field. Some people say they got positions in the Labour cabinet. But he sold the field in 2022 for £320,000. Right? So obviously he gave pretty much a lot of thought to it. He also said on Sunday, when he was interviewed by Laura Kuenssberg, that he did not put the field in a trust, even though he still owned the field. He didn't gift it to them, because if he had gifted it to them, guess what? They would have had to pay, or he would have had to pay inheritance tax to take the money back.
I mean,
so he's avoided paying inheritance tax, which he wants everybody else not to do.
What happened to the donkeys, though?
I don't know. Are they made into salami? I think they're made into salami. I don't know.
I mean,
he's a slimy toad,
it just feels like they can't go a single day without scandal. They had the Morgan McSweeney 739 grand going astray. And then they decided to try and get rid of the scandal by pushing out digital ID when it wasn't really ready, and that took Morgan McSweeney off the front pages. And then, sure enough, Donkeygate comes up.
Yeah.
What's it going to be tomorrow? What's it going to be the next day?
Yeah,
I'm sure there'll be more.
I think Donkeygate, it's a new Watergate, isn't it? It's Britain's Watergate.
It is.
By the way, is there any better version of lefty tears than people like Carol Vorderman, who's got buyer's regret after having told us that Labour were going to save the country and
I'm leaving the BBC in Wales, where I do a show at 4 a.m. in the morning because of my principles. My principles are I care about the future. No, your programme was crap, love. Honestly.
Coming up, Bay City Rollers, Shang-a-Lang. We'll see you after the break. No, I mean, what about this? Consent matters. This is a sign. I don't know if we've got this, have we? Which they put up at the conference, and it said this: consent matters. Please show respect at all times towards all attendees. Check out first with people about how they feel about any physical contact, whether that's a handshake, a high five, a fist pump, or a hug. Anyway, never mind. Chloe, over to you.
So the NHS, they are very, very woke. I mean, they went down kicking and screaming when the Supreme Court judgment came out about men not being allowed in ladies' changing rooms. And now their latest plankery is putting out a piece saying how wonderful cousin marriage is. It's absolutely fantastic, because it tends to mean that there's a greater family support network around the baby to help bring it up.
Yeah, incest has that as advantage.
I kissed my cousin. I might as well put it out
then we
there.
had
12. I kissed my cousin.
The first or second?
First.
I
was only 12.
So what?
Anyway. That's a scandal.
Yeah, that is.
Jeremy
Get
Kyle's incest.
You'd love that, wouldn't you?
But even Wes Streeting said this was a bad idea, but the NHS thought it was a good idea.
I know. I mean, who on earth has put this piece together? And it's so common in this country. When there was the big story about it because Iqbal Mohammed stood up in the Commons and did a speech about how brilliant it is. Do we have that?
I think we do have that. Let's have a look. Iqbal Mohammed, MP.
An estimated 35 to 50% of all sub-Saharan African populations either prefer or accept cousin marriages, and it is extremely common in the Middle East and in South Asia. The reason the practice is so common is that ordinary people see family intermarriage overall as something that is very positive.
Yeah, well, you're not in sub-Saharan Africa or bleeding the Middle East now, mate. You're in Britain.
Yeah, he
so
says
it's
that
not
it's good because it strengthens family bonds. And I'm thinking there are other things that you can do to strengthen family bonds that don't avoid sleeping with your cousins.
Because it means the weirdest thing that I was listening to somebody talking about the other day is that it means that if you have children as first cousins, they both have the same grandparents.
37% of Pakistanis in this country have first cousin marriage, compared to 1% everywhere else.
Right.
They only account for 3% of births in this country, but they account for 33% of birth defects.
Yeah, and that costs the NHS money dealing with all these.
Because they all go on
appointments, huge burden.
They all go on PIP, and they basically have to get money from the state for life.
And why on earth do we still allow first cousin marriage? You know, it should be banned outright. We don't.
Yeah.
Well, when that story broke, the public
they
did a poll. When that story broke, the public thought it was illegal already.
Yeah.
And
well, there's a loophole. Henry VIII allowed it again because he wanted to marry his ex-wife's cousin.
There were some issues in the aristocracy.
We learned full well how that went for the Habsburgs.
Listen, I'm going to sell it, OK? Because you're not going to fall out with your in-laws now because you've got the same in-laws, right? Your Auntie Joan is her Auntie Joan.
Yeah.
OK, there'll be a lot less family conflict.
Yeah.
Also,
less people at the wedding, I suppose.
Weddings. No arguments over the wedding list. Shall we invite my mum? Yeah, she's your mum too. Yeah. Let's go. But the other thing... The other thing, by the way, is, can I say, and I'm going to sell this strongly, right? People with webbed feet make for excellent swimmers. Right? We would smash it at the Olympics. Right?
No, we wouldn't smash it because we wouldn't have taken,
Duncan
performance-enhancing drugs like the Russians probably would. Because of webbed feet, people would be.
It is
brilliant.
amazing, though, isn't it? How and it's very interesting how many people. I think the Daily Telegraph had a piece on this, and it had some ridiculous number of views, like 6 million people were reading it because people couldn't quite. People like you, people don't understand it. They kind of go, "What?"
I had no idea until Iqbal Mohammed made that speech that this is something that is prevalent in the UK.
You've not been very successful in finding love, but even you would not scrape the barrel of going out with your cousin.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I don't have any male cousins. So.
If we ban it, though, what happens to the great city of Norwich? I think that's the really important thing to ask.
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Bradford is the place where this is super duper common.
I can tell you exactly that you're
incest.
both wrong, and because of my knowledge of doing it for years, that is not one of the main capitals.
No, indeed. Mark Dolan, over to you for some migrant action.
Allow me to introduce you to someone that should be cancelled.
Yes.
This is a guy whose name is DG Usama, who sounds like a drug dealer. And
sounds like a rapper, doesn't it?
Maybe he is.
Usama.
This is a small boat migrant who actually filmed his journey to the UK on a small boat, on a inflatable in 2022. And the reason he came here is because he was fleeing tyranny in Afghanistan, where he feared for his life. OK, because, I mean, it's literally a fatal thing for him to ever be back in Afghanistan, except last year, summer 2024, when he took an 8-week holiday to Afghanistan. Make it make sense.
Yeah, because it's not dangerous for him. There he is on holiday in Afghanistan.
He's a Brit now.
Yeah, well, no, but he's not. He's still an asylum seeker, I think. But he now not only went to Afghanistan, he actually travelled all the way through Europe. So pictures of him at the Eiffel Tower, pictures of him, wandering through Dubai. The guy's basically gone on holiday. The question I would have is, how can he afford to go on holiday? Mm-hmm. Where's the money coming from? Unless he's working illegally, because he's not supposed to be working. And when he did go back to Afghanistan, he's not supposed. The law says that if you're seeking asylum from a country, you're not supposed to go back there. So how did he get back there?
Listen, I want to acknowledge this guy for being very enterprising, very creative. He's very well travelled now. I think he could be the new Judith Chalmers.
He could.
Right?
Yeah.
Wish you were here. And he can go to a war-torn zone. So,
I'd replace that and say, wish you weren't here.
Wish you weren't here.
Well, the Taliban have putting adverts out to advertise holidays to Westerners. I don't know if you've seen.
I haven't.
They've been putting out all of these adverts and it's great. The boys think, it's great. I can go on all these cars with guys with guns, and they've got beautiful lakes in Afghanistan. If you're a guy, it seems like it's actually quite a fun place to travel to, and there are a load of influencers on Instagram who have gone out and had a fun holiday there. But if you're a woman, it's no fun.
Not so much, no. But if you also go out there looking to be an influencer, they've got no Wi-Fi at the moment. The Wi-Fi's all broken down.
Oh, yes, I've heard about that.
No, well, that's here as well, yeah. But no, Afghanistan has...
Yeah,
well, it could have been worse for us, though, because we could have instead had the Taliban commander's nephew. Remember him? He came over this week and he's been given refugee status in Britain. He can be now joined by 7 family members who are currently living in Turkey, right? His uncle is in the Taliban. He's commander of the Taliban. He's allowed to bring over all sorts of people, including his parents, 3 sisters, a niece and a nephew. and they're all coming here, and none of them speak English, right? The judge who said it was all right said he acknowledges that there may be some cost to the state.
I'm sorry, but are they
Really?
trying to bring about a terrorist attack in this country?
I think you do this to me. I think there's a part every week, a plank of the week, where he just knows I'm going to implode. What the hell's wrong with us in this country? That judge should be sacked. Why are you saying, not you, to hard-working people north of the M25? By the way, thanks for everything. Thanks for doing everything correctly. These people, 7 people. Yeah. In a boat, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just madness.
Apparently, his uncle was said,
his uncle's
a Taliban commander who's apparently pressuring his father to allow him to join the jihad. He didn't fancy the jihad, so he's come to live in Ealing instead.
Is it Ealing?
Well, probably. That's
this
what they all
is a huge safety
No, I don't know. No.
Is it any wonder, by the way, why people want to go on holiday in Afghanistan now? Because a holiday in Britain, right, our cities are so riven with crime, so expensive. Kabul might be a nice option. Have they got a centre parks? I don't know.
Yeah, they probably have one soon. Starmer will give them the money to do it.
Bring your bikini with you.
Absolutely. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, Lenny Henry. We haven't had him for a while.
Yes, Lenny Henry, a man who hasn't been relevant for about 40 years. He's now written
No, I would disagree with that. He does those travel lodge efforts.
He's now written a book in which he says that British taxpayers should pay £19 trillion for slavery and reparations, which is basically the funniest thing he's said since 1983.
It is actually, yeah.
And that's a sum equivalent, larger than China's entire GDP. That's what they want us to pay. Now, I won't get into the details. I've just done a 1.5-hour debate with Kahinde Andrews, the infamous race grifter. Which is out now on YouTube if you want to see it.
Trigonometry was very good.
Yeah, thank you. But basically, slavery only made about 5% of the British economy. But all these Marxists like to pretend that there wouldn't have been any industrial revolution. Nothing that Britain has achieved is because of British genius. It's all because of slavery and oppression.
I thought we ended slavery.
We were the first nation in the world to deliberately make ourselves poorer in order to advance a moral good.
And we're still doing it,
But
apparently.
the broader point here, of course, is that these race activists don't care about slavery at all. Because if they really did care about slavery, Lenny Henry would do what he did with Comic Relief and go to Africa and talk about modern-day slavery, where there are 10 million Africans living in Africa today who were slaves, and there are still slave ships going to the Middle East. None of that, of course, is spoken about, which shows you this is really about attacking Britain and the West.
And where is this money supposed to come from, according to Mr. Lenny Henry?
I'm sure Rachel Reeves is crying.
It's not
going
to be royalties from the Lenny Henry show.
That's for sure.
Is this the same Comic Relief that last week on Plan I outed as giving 400 grand to the BID? It's basically a body arranged by the Home Office as a charity that gives a handwritten outline about how migrants can best get to stay in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Comic Relief.
But also, earlier we were having a conversation, weren't we, JK and the team, about who hates Britain and who loves Britain. You know, Starmer said that Nigel Farage hates Britain. Well, what about Lenny Henry? Because what is your view of your own country if you want to bankrupt it with this payout of 19 billion?
Exactly.
People like Lenny Henry wouldn't want this to be seen as his country, but he's lived here for as long as he has. But that's ludicrous.
It's given him quite a good living. Maybe he's still suffering from that trauma, though, from that marriage he had to Dawn French.
Can't have been easy when Dawn French left him.
There are certain things that I can imagine
She used to live down the road
happened
from me.
during their time together that I think you'd never forget.
What?
Well, just encounters with her, you know.
I would sit and think. I'd probably get counselled. I would think about positionally. It would be quite interesting.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Family shows. Wait, she was your neighbour?
She lived down the road from me.
And was she all right? Did she put her bins out?
You know what? She very much kept to herself. I saw her with her dog like once in all the years I lived there.
Yeah.
But she lived in this beautiful castle by the beach.
Do you remember she went mad with that pro-Gaza
She did.
Instagram?
She got cancelled by Mike
Which pretty much killed her career.
Oh,
It
yeah.
did. Well, as it should do.
I mean,
anyway,
fairly
listen,
relevant already,
we're
but-
all having a great time here, but there's a lot to get on with, because coming up, we've got some more illegal migrant activity to talk about. We've got Waitrose's worst security guard, and I'm going to tell you about a former politician who seems to have gone mad. This is Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Now, how many of you remember a woman by the name of Penny Mordaunt?
I do.
You might remember her because...
Pen holding the big
With the
thing.
sword.
Yeah, holding the big thing, yeah. Apparently, she was the Lord President of the Council. She famously carried the Sword of State and presented the jewelled sword of offering to King Charles at his coronation. You might
Leader
remember.
of the House.
And she was walking all the way through the procedure, and it was all very good. Anyway, she lost her seat at the last election down in Portsmouth, even though, you know, she thought she might be able to retain it because of her connections to the naval business down there. But this week, she put out a very mysterious tweet the night before the thing happened and said, you know, got a big announcement to make at 9 o'clock in the morning, because everybody thought, wow, Penny Mordaunt's going to join Reform. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. So everybody started asking her a load of questions. She didn't answer any of the questions. No. It turns out, at 9 o'clock the next morning, she put out the tweet that said, this is what I'm doing. And basically, she's written a book.
No.
But it's not just any book. It's a book called Pomp and Circumstance, right?
What is that supposed to be about?
Well, it's supposed to be about how great Britain is, and sort of it's a sequel to some other books she wrote about. You might have heard about.
It's about tradition. I mean, as a royal ceremonial commentator, I mean, all the woman's ever done in her life is hold up a sword, basically. And she, for that reason alone, she seems to think she should be prime minister.
Yeah.
But there's books about ceremonial aspects of British life.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a page turner to me, to be honest. You know, it's not like a bodice ripper or anything. Anyway, so here is a video that she put out, which is really bizarre. I just want you to have a look at it, because this is supposedly meant to make you want to buy the book, right? But there's loads of mistakes in it, right? The foxhounds apparently have got faces like horses, because the AI's gone wrong. Over here we've got banners with nonsensical phrases written on that you can't make out. There's some traffic going the wrong way around Piccadilly Circus there, as you can see. And here, the uniform being worn by the mounted police officer is completely wrong. So it's this very weird thing that she's done. The Houses of Parliament, too many towers, more nonsense appearing on the placards. It's all very weird. I don't quite know what's going on.
No, and she's a bit of a narcissist, isn't she? I mean, first of all, the sword stuff, all that cosplay, you know, royal pageantry. Then there was the fact that she spent like 11 days as a Navy reserve. Yeah. I mean, I exaggerate. Yeah. Now she thinks she's the sort of, you know, vice admiral, the whole thing. And I do think the Tories, I mean, I know Kemi's useless, but they dodged a bullet with this one, because she was in the Commons throwing women under the bus.
She also thinks women can have a penis.
Right, she said that trans women are women, which is controversial.
And she was on that show in a bikini. Do you remember? Splash, when she just jumped, dive into a pool or whatever. Right. Well, her book's called Tradition, and she's used the most untraditional way of promoting it with an AI video.
With an AI video, which is all wrong.
The words were backwards.
Well, the words on the posters didn't make any sense.
That's to promote a book about what?
Tradition.
And she got a book deal?
Apparently so.
Because she carried a sword.
This is not going to make her rich. I know all politicians think that they can live the rich life after they lose their seats, but I don't think this is going to fly off the
shelf. And she thinks a woman can have a penis?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one. I just thought we've got to throw her in there, because she hasn't been on here before, I don't think, Penny Mordaunt. But anyway, there we are.
She sounds barking mad.
She does. She does.
I've got a story for you this week. I mean, frankly, I think the Labour conference has to win, but I'm going to give you Shakir Jamal, who's 24. He was due to appear at Poole Magistrates last week at 12:30. Basically, an interpreter, because he speaks Kurdish, which nobody understood, at £800 had been booked. Everything was up in there. He's living in a migrant hotel in Bournemouth, the circular one. It's a complete bloody nightmare. Sainsbury's is cut off now. It's disastrous for me. He basically threatened another man with a snooker cue, right? Quite nasty.
Yeah.
So the judge comes in, or the magistrate, and the person that works out what he's saying, what are they called? Interpreters. He comes in, everybody's ready. They can't find Jamal, right? So they start looking, and he's nowhere in the court, and they look in the area, he's nowhere. They find him half a mile away, sat on a bench, looking out to sea, eating fish and chips.
Just unbelievable.
So the reason I really want to identify... Look at that.
Well, maybe he's been naturalised. He likes fish and chips.
He likes fish and chips, but he said, I didn't realise I had to be on time. This is the best bit. It gets postponed for a month, because he had fish and chips, and he doesn't... And he's going to be in a migrant hotel for another 30 nights. So what, 400 quid a night?
Yeah.
So he's cost us all that money in the migrant hotel.
About 12 grand.
And he's cost us all the court fees, the interpreter fees, and he just doesn't care. I mean, of all the reasons to miss court, I'm sorry, but this is the most bonkers one
If he had fish and chips with mushy peas, right, vinegar, salt, ketchup, and if he had a glass of milk and buttered bread, then I think he's sound that he can stay.
Well, and he likes snooker as well, so come on.
Would be it.
I think spam fritters.
There's been a whole rash of these stories this week, right? I'm just going to run you through a couple of them. You see what I did there? Yeah. Apparently, there were 3 thieving Algerian asylum seekers who were sentenced to prison this week. They basically went around robbing people in the city of London. Going to pubs where people were busy drinking. They'd nick laptops, they'd nick, iPads, they'd nick iPhones. iPhones. They nicked £4,000 worth of valuables in London's financial district in July alone. They're all Algerian. One of them claims to be 21, looks about 40. His name's Adam Zawi. There's another one called Usama Fadaj, not Farage, and one called Aouji Abderouf, who's 29. And basically,
Is that how he escaped?
The judge said to them, "This is an appalling situation. I'm dealing with a situation where all defendants have no right to live in this country. They claim that they need protection to live in this country, and they return that favour by stealing from the citizens of this country."
Did the judge say that?
The judge actually said that.
Salute the judge.
Yeah, and the judge sent them to prison, and he said, when you come out of prison, you should expect to be deported. But, of course, they probably won't be, because they'll come up with some reason why they can't be deported.
Judge. What a top
Judge
man.
Snow, his name is.
Good
I've
man,
never heard of him
against the
before.
grain.
Meanwhile, there's another one down in Bournemouth. You'll like this one.
Well, you're waving at me again, yeah.
Down in the West Country, another guy who stabbed a man with a smashed bottle outside of a nightclub more than once, several times. He avoided jail.
Why is that?
Because the judge down there said, we didn't hurt him very much. It wasn't a very serious injury. So he's gone back to the migrant hotel in Bournemouth, where he'll spend the rest of his life.
And that's the same judge, I very suspect, that the guy who... We had this story 2 weeks ago when we were on... the guy who walked... He'd been in the country 4 days or in that hotel, walked onto the beach, stuck his hands down the front and back of a young 16-year-old girl's trousers. It comes to court a year later, the judge went... It was a mere moment for him, and to be honest, he's had a hard upbringing.
He's had a hard upbringing, yeah.
I mean, honestly, try telling that.
So many judges in this country need to be fired.
The final one.
It gives me some hope hearing that there's one with common sense.
There is
that one really went for him. That judge said, if this guy's 21, then I was born yesterday. Absolutely no way I'm believing that. And it's quite something for a judge to say this person should be deported, because we've had judges before saying, it's up to the Home Office, nothing to do with me. There was a victim of the grooming gangs who got to stand in court and speak in front of her perpetrators and really berate them. And the court forced her to take out the section of her speech that said, I think these men should be deported, because they said, that's not for the courts, that's for the Home Office, don't you dare mention that.
I mean, this is a problem Farage has got in 4 years' time, is you can change the government, but you can't change the institutions.
Well, he may have to
sack a lot of them.
Well, he may have to
change the law.
He may have to do that.
He's our best hope of somebody who's got a pair big enough to go about doing it.
He may just have to limit what abilities they have to interpret things.
Anyway, that's true.
Chloe, over to you. You've got the worst security guard in Britain, apparently.
Yes, so there's a video been going viral of somebody with one of those bigger delivery backpacks on. They're supposed to be for carrying food around that you're delivering, but it's being used here as a big carry sack to steal as much booze as possible from Waitrose. And the security guy, you can see him there, he's just standing there having a look, not bothering to do anything.
Is that a child he's got with the thing on his back?
It does look about 12 years old, this guy.
He's 40. Why... Sorry, can you explain to me why the security guard's doing nothing? Am I missing the point here?
I see it. This isn't just an exception. I see it in my local Tesco.
He's watching him!
There's a security guy who is paid to be there, and he just stands there with his arms crossed when people shoplift.
Why?
So the security guards, they think, if I grab this guy and I tackle them to the ground, I might get done for assault. I might get a criminal record. I might lose my job. I'm here on minimum wage, so I'm not going to bother. But I think, why bother employing a security guard in the first place?
Why is he following him out the door?
You're not going to bother doing anything.
He's not even running the guy, is he? He's got so much stuff
that's the thing, is they're not even sneaky about it anymore, because they know they can get away with it. And they know if they, I don't know how much he stole there, but if it's under 200 quid, they can do what they want. The police...
that looks like more than 500 quid.
But they're told not to intervene. So places like Waitrose tell the security guards not to intervene.
Why do they bother having a security guard there?
Our security guards are a joke. Firstly, a lot of them are basically people who can't even speak the language very well. They're half of my size. They're not intimidating at all. I've said before, we need to get people that would be nightclub bouncers as security guards. People who are trained to the same level. In America, they've got guns. I would give tasers as well.
But they'd be working non-stop, because, I mean, I was in a Sainsbury's and I witnessed this happening, and actually, not even security guard, but actual members of staff at Sainsbury's tackled these two lads and managed to get a bottle of rum off them, and among expletives they zoomed off. And I said, how often does that happen a day? And they went 10 to 15 times a day.
It's costing. But if
they started arresting them and started punishing them, it would stop. The reason it doesn't stop is because nobody punishes them.
This is costing supermarkets a heck of a lot of money. It's not just the small independent businesses that are struggling. The guy in charge of Iceland, he came out and said shoplifting is costing them 20 million quid a year.
And that's the guy that wanted a Labour government, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
changed his view.
guy. Yeah.
Another lefty with
Well,
buyer's
they've now
regret.
said at Iceland that if you catch a shoplifter, they'll give you £1 back on your loyalty card. So they're now getting the customers to try and stop the shoplifters because they can't get the police to do anything.
I think we need
Iceland's shop, yeah.
We need to do what Singapore does. You know, in Singapore now they have judicial canings.
Jeremy doesn't know what Iceland
right?
is because he's too posh.
What is a judicial caning? Then you can pay a lot of money for that in Soho.
We need to do what they do in Singapore. If you're a thief, if you overstay your visa, you get a judicial caning.
Yeah.
And I think people in this country no longer fear the police. They no longer fear authority.
No.
Public judicial caning, pure humiliation and pain. That's how you get through to the feral cretins of this country.
Mike, I thought you and I were going to have a judicial caning after the show.
Yeah, we can do, yeah. People have tried to give me a caning.
That'll be injudicial caning, I think.
Successful, it has to be said. Right, listen, we've reached the end of another section, I think. So coming up, we're going to go to Italy, where there's some very interesting things going on. Sorry, are you all right?
Wasn't right.
No, that was Elvis. Yeah. And also, we're going to be talking about a school that's being investigated as well. There's a lot of that going on. This is Plank of the Week, back after this.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It's Friday night. We're almost through to the final third of the programme where I get to choose who wets the win it this week. And Jeremy's looking very confident with the Labour Party conference.
If you can't give it to the Labour Party conference, come on.
Unless we've gone
mad.
a
security guard.
Well, let's see what Mark Dolan. Well, let's see what Mark Dolan can offer us from Italia.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm afraid this is another woke showbiz story. This is Colin Firth's ex-wife, the actor Colin Firth, and now we know why she's the ex-wife, because she received an MBE a few years ago, 2020, and she's handed it back after the disgraceful visit of Donald J. Trump, leader of the free world in this country, and to have the red carpet rolled out, even though America is basically our key military and economic ally.
Yeah.
And she did a very indulgent video, which has gone viral for all the wrong reasons.
Yes, we've got it here.
I have an MBE, and I accepted it in 2019 for my services to sustainable fashion. So I'm returning it. This is my certificate to accept it. And the reason why I'm doing this.
Dearie dear.
Sustainable fashion.
Is
I
that
don't think
edible
she deserves.
knickers? Yeah. Is that edible knickers?
I mean,
sounds like she doesn't deserve it in the first place.
Her name is apparently Livia Giorgioli, which is completely different to the way Chuck told me to pronounce it.
That's
Giorgioli. It's definitely Giorgioli.
Her grasp. Yeah, sorry, go Mike.
No, I was going to say she's not very well known. This woman. She was once married to Colin Firth. She spent a very short time in Britain. She now lives in Italy. Does anybody care?
No one cares. And she got the year wrong. And she said that she doesn't want to be part of the British Empire anymore. She didn't get the memo. I'm like, if only, love. If only. And it demonstrates what a good actor Colin Firth must have been, because he's had to sat there for years listening to her nonsense going, oh, you've made a good point there, my love.
She's even got the date wrong on the letter that she's...
Sorry, that letter looks like something your 7-year-old brings
looks
back.
Like something
from
Angela...
One of the 60 writes better than that.
Looks like she's got Angela Rayner to write it for.
That's
her.
it, Jim will fix it.
Yeah, October... It says October the 24th, it says, when it's not actually October at all.
But she's on a mission to make the British public hate her because she cheated on Colin Firth. She cheated on Mr. Darcy.
She did.
And if that wasn't bad enough, now she's having a go at the royal family.
No, I'm joking.
Goodness me, absolutely ridiculous.
Another narcissist, I'm afraid.
Another one. Rafe, over to you for some children being investigated.
Yes, so Australia is abuzz with news of a daring art heist that's seen a painting stolen that's worth potentially thousands of dollars, except that in this case, the painting is a young child's finger painting. It wasn't stolen from a gallery, it was stolen from a kindergarten, and the thief was the child's mother. This is because of a kindergarten that is basically demanding that parents pay up to $2,000, about £1,000 to get access to their children's drawings and paintings.
What, the things they draw while they're in the kindergarten? And if they want to take them home?
If they want to take home paintings done in the kindergarten, cough up a grand, otherwise you're not going to get them.
And the money isn't even for the people, it isn't for the artists, it's the teachers want the money because they say, we're not being paid enough, we're going to make you pay a load of money for your children's paintings.
Well, why don't they just hold the kids...
They're using the kids as slaves.
Why don't they just hold the kids hostage and say, when you turn up to take them home, you go, if you don't give us $500...
That's a good idea.
You don't get your kid back.
But it gets
your
worse.
Your kids stay with me until I get the money.
It gets worse. When this mother went to take this painting home, the kindergarten called the police on this woman. It got escalated, and so the government got involved. And the Department of Education, you've got to love this, Department of Education, like it was an SAS operation to release hostages, the Department of Education said we had a successful operation to retrieve these items. It's from a kindergarten.
Yeah, I mean, that's bizarre, isn't it? There's some very odd things happening in Australia. Since lockdown, Australia's gone a bit mad. I think we've got one more picture to see if this is any better. Oh, there we go. Oh, this came out last week. This was an AI depiction of Plank of the Week.
Look at me.
Renaissance
I look dead.
style.
You do, actually.
Yeah.
I look like Voldemort on crack at the back, two in from the left. Look at Mark Wogan. He looks like Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah.
Who's the woman?
That's Samara.
I mean, who's the bloke on the right?
Do you not remember who was on Plank with you?
Will Geddes. He
looks like a highwayman or something.
You look like you're about to do panto. Can you put that back up a second, Mikey?
Mike came out the best of all of them.
I don't know.
You look like Christopher Biggins.
I do look a bit like Christopher Biggins.
Bit of Biggie there, haven't you?
Absolutely.
I want my next part to be better than this.
Love Biggins.
Did they have glasses in the 14th century? I'm not quite sure.
It's not bad. They've got the colours right, the hues right, I would say. I'd pay £1,000.
I'll tell you a story about Christopher Biggins. It's absolutely true.
I don't think we've got time.
10 seconds.
Go on.
Literally was in Marbella once. Barbara Windsor came down the street. Hello, Jeremy, I must give you a call. I said, you haven't got no shit. I have. Biggins gave it to me. Biggins has everybody's number and gives it to everybody. The man's an outrage.
Absolutely ridiculous. Now, coming up next, we've got something to show you, which I think even you will agree is the greatest video you've ever seen. And it's a law enforcement video from the United States of America, and it's going to get a special mention. Then, I'm going to give you my final nomination, and then we're going to decide who's actually won this competition this week, the Plank of the Week. Back afterwards.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. Now, before I get into my final nomination, which has got a bit of a showbiz tinge to it, I want you to have a very careful look at this video. This is a video filmed in Florida. It's a press conference by Sheriff Grady Judd, who's explaining what happened to a particular individual who has now become a perpetrator of some crime. Have a look.
So you order up a prostitute, and that's what you think you're getting. Now, when you look at that, you go, "Wow, that's pretty rough," but, you know, any port in a storm. And then the next morning, when you wake up, you find out this is who it really is. Yeah. We call that Coyote Ugly. You see, he's laying on your arm in bed. You go, well, it was rough last night, but I've sobered up. I think I'll just chew my arm off and ease away so I don't disturb him or wake him up. All right, so you think you're buying this, you're getting this. He's got 31 criminal charges, and heck, if you're lucky, he doesn't kill you overnight.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, people were putting comments on that around the internet going, Florida can't be a real place. That can't have actually that is actually a
the
police
ultimate catfish.
Isn't it brilliant? Absolutely fantastic stuff. Anyway, so now over to me for the final nomination. Actually, I would say this one possibly rivals the Labour Party conference, and it is the lovely Emma Watson, who, of course, has been having a long-running feud with J.K. Rowling, possibly the most successful British author of all time, who created Harry Potter and who created, wonderful joys for
and made Emma Watson a multi-millionaire.
Made Emma Watson a multi-millionaire, as she pointed out, when she was 14, right? Now, this week, it seems that Emma Watson, who's been fighting J.K. Rowling and saying what a horrible woman she is for so long, suddenly decided that actually maybe she got it a bit wrong because the world seems to be changing slightly and she's obviously worried she might not get any more work. So here's Emma Watson talking about how she now has a dichotomy.
I can love her. I can know she loved me. I can be grateful to her. I can know the things that she said are true. And that can be this whole other thing. And my job feels like to just hold all of it.
How self-indulgent is that? I mean, seriously?
It's nauseating.
J.K. Rowling put out a tweet this week. She said, like other people who've never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. I'd be astounded if she's been in a high street changing room since childhood. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I wasn't a multi-millionaire at 14. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated means to women and girls without her privilege. Right?
It's Gary Lineker and Emma Thompson all over again, right?
Isn't it?
Woke celebrities insulated from the grim reality of their luxury beliefs.
Yeah.
and it's disgusting. And the remarks she made over the years about J.K. Rowling have basically more than thrown her under the bus, caused her to have rape and death threats.
She had death threats. She had to get security on her house.
I thought it was really interesting what you said as well. You look at the insincerity. Oh, I'll just hold it. Shut up, idiot. But what you said. Maybe these people are beginning to suss that the world is changing.
Yeah.
Maybe it is that.
Oh, yeah.
They're thinking, geez, I need to...
I think so.
Well, that's what J.K. Rowling said in her tweet. Maybe Emma is doing this because she's finally realised that it's not making her all that popular.
Right.
Going against women that have genuine safety concerns.
Yeah.
And J.K. Rowling also pointed out that she made that all witches speech where she says, I'm here for all the witches, bar one, basically saying, I'm not here for J.K. Rowling. And then sent her a handwritten note by someone else while she was receiving all these death threats saying, I'm sorry for what you're going through. She has her number. She could have given her a call, could have given her a text.
And without J.K. Rowling, she's nothing.
Exactly.
She wouldn't have had any money at all. J.K. Rowling talked about how she had to kind of sort of talk them into standing in a big, huge, frightening film studio, saying words that they'd never known that they were going to say before, because they were 10-year-old kids.
She said something the other day that I really agree with. She said, you never find people like Emma Watson and other female commentators who quite rightly talk about female rights. You never hear them when you hear a migrant raping a girl on Dorset Beach. You don't hear sing, their teenage daughter's gone into a toilet and a man in a dress with the penis changes. They're hypocrites.
No.
She's
a hypocrite.
She would win a game of woke bingo. She's going to be pro-net zero, pro-Palestine, pro-trans.
Oh, for sure.
Until, like with Greta, by the way, until it's no longer fashionable. And, old Greta's ferreted on the old net zero. It's all about Palestine.
Of course.
Love to know what's next. But this is Emma Thompson, right? Not Emma Watson, as Freudian slip. Emma Watson is so out of touch that she blamed her recent driving ban on the fact that she always had a limousine and therefore didn't know about the speed limit.
Oh, my God.
I mean, what a defence.
But there's some good news, right? Because Intel Lady...
My Bentley is so fast.
One of our favourites here on Plank of the Week. She does a great Angela Rayner. This is Intel Lady doing Emma Watson.
I will always hold space for her and so much love in my heart for her, and I would hope that she felt the same way about me. But also, I stand shoulder to shoulder with those who would wish harm on her, hate her, and would wish the absolute worst for her in her life.
It's so hopeless,
so
aren't they?
brilliant.
It's just out of touch, like you wouldn't believe.
She's at university again, right?
She's gone back to Columbia.
Yeah. No, she's
at Oxford doing masters.
So she's not got. She's not in the digs. She's not creative writing.
Yeah.
She's doing a PhD in creative writing, right? But the digs are no good. So she's in a £4 million house,
of course,
down the road. But the creative writing, how's that going to go? Do you think she'll create a very popular wizard character and sell 1 billion copies of her books?
Unlikely.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
And make some pro-trans version of Harry Potter.
Maybe she could team up with Penny Mordaunt and do a book on tradition. And that would be good.
There's a hilarious photo of her where she's lecturing some delegates about feminism. And when she's turned around to write on the whiteboard for her lecture, all of the men that she's giving a lecture to about feminism, they're all staring at her bum.
Of course they are. Absolutely right. And was she not a UN ambassador?
2014.
Yeah, I think this is where she was speaking.
Yeah.
She ranted and raved.
Small favour. Anyway, as worthy as that is, and as brilliant as that one is, I do think it is going to have to go to... Hang on. Mr. Jeremy Kyle.
Do you know what came second?
The pictures. The Australian schools, the fines, No, but definitely, I think Keir Starmer and the Labour Party conference, they're kind of one and the same thing. It was such an absolute car crash. There were so many things that went wrong.
I think David Lammy is the ultimate plank.
David Lammy is also the ultimate plank. There's sort of planks within planks. It's a whole kind of,
it's a
separate ecosystem of planks. They're all over the place. Everywhere you look.
Wooden.
And can you imagine? And also, let's not forget, an honourable mention for Steve Reed, the guy who put a red hat on that said, build, baby, build, right? Put on a red tie with a blue suit and sat in a bar with a pint of beer. As if to say, I'm Donald Trump and Nigel Farage rolled into one.
Also, an honourable mention, which just goes to show you that there's no future to Labour. Do you remember Wes Streeting stood up and said, we need Angela back? Yeah. It's been 3 weeks since she was found out to have lied about buying a house.
Trust me, we don't need Angela back. But here we are, Labour Party conference, the Labour Party, the Labour government, Keir Starmer, and that shower of a cabinet of yours. You're all planks of the week. Thank you very much to Jeremy Kyle, to Tony Dobbs, to Mark Dolan. Very nice to see you back. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. We'll be back next week for more planks.
Thank you, Mike.